will take up the second chapter from your It So Happened book. And the name of the chapter is Children at Work. So, you can see the very name of the chapter is very suggestive. Now, what does it suggest? Children at work. The very name very beautifully points out one of India's most prominent social problem, that is child labor. And that is why the name of the story is Children at Work. In this story, the central character of the story is Velu. Who is Velu? Velu is an 11-year-old boy who runs away from home. Now, why does he run away from home? There are several reasons. As the story will unfold, we will come to see that. There are many reasons. So, without wasting any time, let me go straight into the story. When Kanyakumari Express pulled in at Chennai Central, it took Velu some time to get off. So, the very beginning of the story, it starts with the description of a railway station, that is Chennai. Here, the little boy Velu, he has come there running away from his house. Now, why has he run away from his house? Because he lives a very unhappy life in his house. Why? We will come to know that. It took Velu some time to get off. When he finally stood on the platform, his legs felt wobbly. Now, when he was standing in the platform, he was very, very unsteady. He was suffering from a lack of confidence. Now, why was he suffering from a lack of confidence? Because he has run away from his house. And please remember, boys, the age of Velu is 11 years. So a boy of 11 has run away from his house to a new world. So obviously, the boy would be very, very afraid. The boy would be very, very hesitant. As if he was still on a moving train. Now, when he was in the platform, he was also experiencing the experience of a train. That is quite natural. Oh, out of the way, a porter went by with a loaded trolley. Velu jumped aside. So when he was standing there, he was called by the porter to move to give inside. The porter was carrying a huge load, and Velu, he was utterly bewildered standing there. He sat on a bench on the platform, putting his small bundle down. In all his 11 years, he had never seen so many people. So Velu, he was standing there. He has put down his small bundle, his little luggage, because in 11 years of his life, he has not seen so many people standing there. See, now, in all 11 years, he had never seen so many people except once a year at the fair in his village. So Velu, when he was standing at the railway station, Chennai Central Station, he was completely puzzled. He was puzzled to see so many people standing there, because he was a little boy and he had not seen so many people gathering at a place. People walked by, bumping into him with their suitcases. A voice announced something on a loudspeaker. Near him, a group of people sat on. So this was the typical ambience of a railway station. And Velu, being a little boy, he was very much perplexed. He was very much bewildered. Why was it so? Because for the first time, he has gone out of his village. And Please remember, boys, Velu is an 11-year-old boy. So obviously, you cannot expect such maturity from an 11-year-old boy. That's why. Now see, let me go deeper into this story. Their luggage looking at TV hanging from the roof. The noise was terrible. So this was a typical atmosphere of a railway station. People carrying their luggage, televisions are hanging, there are different kinds of voices. Velu put his head down on his knees, feeling miserable and exhausted. Now Velu was very, very sad. He was exhausted. So he was sitting, putting his head down the knees. He had run away from his village 2 days ago. For 2 days he had eaten nothing but some peanuts and a piece of jaggery. In his bundle he carried a shirt, a towel and a comb. So just imagine the little boy Velu, he was simply carrying some very insignificant thing, a shirt, a comb and a towel. And he has not had proper food, only some peanuts and some jaggery. He has run away from his house because in his house he was forced to work as a child labor. And this Velu is a representative of so many children of Indian society who suffer, who are tormented, who are worst hit by the problem of child labor. So Velu becomes a phase, and as I have said at the very beginning of my lecture, that this story deals with the typical Indian social problem, that is child labor. So Velu is a representative of all those children who are forced to employ themselves as child labor. Now you can ask me, sir, what are the reasons of child labor? Now, this is a very complex problem. There are various reasons as to why a little boy or a little girl, instead of going to school, is forced to employ himself or herself as a child labor. There are various reasons. See, he had walked for most of the first day to Kannur and then got on the train to Chennai. Velu had no money for a ticket, but luckily the ticket collector did not come to unreserved compartment. So Velu, he had somehow managed to get into a train which is heading towards Kannur. And there he didn't get any ticket. He was very lucky that his ticket has not been checked. Now, had there been any ticket collector at that compartment, Velu would be in trouble because he didn't have a legal documents which allows him to board the train. Now, see, he had tried to sleep on the floor near the door. A group of men next to him had played cards and shouted all night. Just see the condition of this little boy. He was trying to sleep even in that situation. But as we all know, the situation of some unreserved compartment would never allow anyone to sleep peacefully. Because some people, a group of men next to him, had played cards and shouted all night. What? New to town? Called out a rough voice. So when Velu was sitting in the platform, suddenly he was very, very startled. He was astounded by a rough voice as if someone is calling him just from his side. What happens? See, Velu opened his eyes. It means till then Velu was recollecting his past memories. Velu was recollecting his gone days. Means what talking to him? Who was that man? Who was that person? Here, A. This is a typical Indian way of getting an introduction or getting recognized by another people. You must be knowing, students, this is a typical way of Indian statements. Here, A. He turned around. Behind him was a girl around his own age. Now, when Velu was sitting there, he could see another girl, a girl almost of his same age. He turned around. Behind him was a girl around his own age, wearing a long banyan that came down to her knees. Her hair was stiff and brownish, and she had a huge sack on one shoulder. She was picking up dirty plastic cups from the floor and stuffing them. Into her sack. So what happened here? Suddenly Velu was startled by the call of a very young girl. This girl also belongs to the same age group of Velu. Now we can ask me, sir, who is this girl? This girl in this profession it is called rag picker. What is a rag picker or who is a rag picker? Someone who picks rags. Water rags in village India, in rural parts of India, in different stations, in a few years back also, you must have seen little boys, little girls carrying a sack, and they, whatever they get, like any discarded item, like a cup or any pen or anything, they gather those things into the sack and they carry the sack in their one shoulder. So this girl is also another example of the typical Indian social problem, that is child labor. This girl also is another phase of child labor. One is Velu and the other one is this girl. And Velu came across this girl in station, and the girl asked, "Are you a newcomer? Are you new to this town?" See. Why is she calling me? Thought Velu. And why is a girl wearing a banyan? Here, Velu was quite subtle. This girl belongs to a very poor family, and obviously we can also understand we cannot expect a poor girl should dress up in a very luxurious manner, because this girl is a representative of all child laborers. And Velu couldn't understand why the girl is talking to him. No need to swear stupidly. What is your name? Velu, muttered Velu, looking away. And the girl, she immediately understood that this little boy is also another child labor. And that is why she asked the name of the boy. And Velu replied, Velu, muttered Velu. Velu replied in a quite hesitant manner, we can say. So, Mr. Velu, said the girl, looking at his bundle, ran away from home. Now the girl, when she looked at the bundle of Velu, she could immediately understand that Velu has simply run away from his house. Now you can ask me, sir, how is it possible? Because the girl has seen so many boys like Velu who had run away from house. What does it indicate, boys? Please think. It indicates the problem is very deep-rooted. It indicates that the problem is very deep-rooted. That is why so many boys on previous occasions, they had run away from their house. Velu didn't answer. He did not want to tell some strange girl what he had done. He had run away because he couldn't stand his father beating him for one more day. His father would snatch away all the money Velu and his sisters earned and spend it on drink. Now, the crux of the story. have said, Velu was forced. Why was he forced? Because Velu, along with his sister, both of them were child laborers. They were forced to work instead of going to school. Students, please understand the concept here. Velu is a little boy, and Velu is a boy of 11 years. So, in our society, in many societies, in all societies, it is quite expected that a little boy of 11 years would go to school rather than employing himself as a child laborer. Is it natural? Is it expected? No, it cannot be. A boy should go to school rather than working as a child laborer. But instead, what do we find here? We find Velu being employed as a child laborer. And not only that, please remember, see the line. He could not stand his father beating him for one more day. His father had the tendency to drink. He was a drunkard. And while being intoxicated, his father used to beat the little children. Why did he beat the little children? Because he was not in his normal condition. He was drunk. That is why. Don't think I don't know. This place is full of children like you. So, what are you going to do here? Become rich? And the little girl, another girl, she asked, don't think that I don't know. The girl knows it very well. Why had Velu run away from his house? Velu had run away from his house because of that reason. And what does it indicate? Just see the line. This place is full of children like you. What are you going to do here? Become rich. It indicates, as I have said, the problem is deep-rooted and widespread. There are so many children like Velu in the city. Just imagine the condition, boys. These young children who are supposed to go to school, who are supposed to learn, who are supposed to read and write, who are supposed to enjoy their childhood. But by the stroke of luck, unfortunately, they have been turned into child labor. Just imagine the pathetic situation of these boys. Now, she sat down next to him. Velu shifted away slightly. Velu was little hesitant. The girl was sitting just beside him. Velu shifted away slightly. He felt hunger pinching him and pressed his stomach with a grenade. Hungry? Asked the girl. What had Velu eaten before? Some peanuts supported by some pieces of jaggery. Is it sufficient for a little boy to eat that much of food? Not at all. So Velu was feeling hungry and he pressed his hand against his stomach and he made a typical face which was indicative of the fact that he was very much hungry. See, hungry? Asked the girl. You won't get food by sitting here gloomily. If you simply sit here sadly, you will not get food. Making faces. I can find some if you want. And the girl said he could find some food if Velu wanted. She picked up her sack and started to walk away. Velu stayed on the bench. What should he do? Should he follow this girl? Where was she going to take him? She was disappearing into the crowd. So, the girl said, if you want food, come with me. Follow me. I will provide you food. Now, Velu, who is new to the city, he was quite hesitant. He was hesitant because he did not understand, he did not chalk out what to do at that time. He couldn't imagine, he couldn't think whether to follow the girl or to do it on his own. Where was he going to take him? She was disappearing into the crowd. So, he had to make up his mind quickly. Alright, he decided. Anyway, I have no idea where to go. He jumped she wasn't even looking back to see where he was. So Velu was hesitant. Velu could not decide whether to go or to stay. But after a little thought, Velu decided he knew no one in the city. If he wanted to survive in that city, it would be better for Velu to follow the little girl so that at least he would get some food. That is why Velu followed the little girl. Now imagine, see what happens. He caught up with the girl as she was leaving the station. When they got to the road, Velu found that the vehicles kept coming and never stopped for anyone. So Velu, quite naturally, he started following the girl. And what happened there? Velu found that the vehicles kept coming, never stopped for anyone. Smoke and dust flew at him from both sides. Please remember, boys, for the first time, this little boy Velu, he had come to a city. And there, he was very much unaccustomed. We all know in big metropolitan cities, be it Mumbai, be it Chennai, be it New Delhi, be it Kolkata, be it Bengaluru, whichever city you take up, there used to be a huge gathering, a huge crowd, traffic jam, huge congestion. There, Velu was unaccustomed. So he could not understand how to cross the road. They had to wait for a long time before they could find a gap to run through. Velu kept hesitating and the girl finally dragged him to the other side. So Velu was simply standing. He couldn't understand how to cross the road, how to use the gaps in between and cross the road. But what happened ultimately? The girl helped Velu to cross the road. The little girl helped Velu to cross the road. What do you think you are doing? Raising cows? If you stand around in the middle of the road like that, you will be chutney. This is a typical native word that the girl uses. The girl says, if you kept on standing in the middle of the road, what will happen? Very naturally, the little boy would be run over by a speedy car. This is quite natural, students. If any of us, if any human being stands in front of a busy road, he will face an accident. This is what is being mentioned by the girl as chutney. Now see, Velu's heart was still beating fast. He looked back at Central Station and the traffic speeding by. How had they managed to come through that? So when Velu had already crossed the road, Velu was looking back. Velu was looking back at the station, at the crossing, and there he found so many people there. So how had they managed to come through that? They walked along the side of the road under some shade. There they were going. So I think let me call it a day. In my next video, I will take up again from this part and I will finish up the story. I hope you can understand. Thank you. Let me call it a day. In my next video, I will continue with this. Thank you once.